Welcome back to another episode of Makes Remote Work. Today's guest is Nathan Ruff, the exuberant founder and CEO of Perfect, who runs a fully remote web design agency built on urgency and transparency, and is openly building toward a future run for president. I think you'll enjoy this one. Let's take a look. Today, we're joined by Nathan Ruff, CEO and founder of Perfect, a web design agency that specializes in designing, building, and managing websites for brands and businesses. Welcome into the podcast, Nathan.
Yeah, really a full service management company. So most of our work is taking existing assets and offering amazing support, becoming their ongoing maintenance provider. Like the industry is kind of full of GoDaddies, which suck, and then agencies that do good work typically only build new. We do great work while also working on existing.
So, all right, walk me through your typical workday. What is that like? Where are you? What are you doing? Is it more structured or chaos? How's a day-to-day look in your life?
So we just had a third child. So right now it's more chaotic than normal. I am not a
Fair.
structure guy. I don't like structure. I don't, I like when people book meetings on my calendar. That's like a form of structure. But in general, I want to be able to do whatever I want. Now I have a company responsibilities, so that gets in the way. But what of the reasons, and you haven't asked this, maybe you will, but like one of the reasons we loved Rome and I became obsessed with Rome immediately is that like something happens and my belief is we had to solve it now. And so I spent most of my day needing to meet with somebody, hitting them in Slack and be like, can you meet? Here's a Zoom link. And then be like, okay, I'll be on in 5 minutes. And then
Right.
waiting that Zoom call for 5 minutes. So when I saw Ron, I was like, I can see everybody and I can see who's meeting with who and I see who's available. So, I look at Rome as like kind of like our internal dashboard where I like see, because our whole team's remote. So like when I have it available on my phone, on all my computers, and at all times, just kind of seeing like who's doing what, who's meeting with what's happening, and that gives me the pulse check I need. It's like I just feel like I catch problems so much faster, and everybody can get a hold of me, who again is day with kids and life and everything. Like my day can be very sporadic outside of like my book time on my calendar, and
Right.
so this allows people to have like 1 to 3 minute meetings with me frequently. And it's helped the entire team like get on board with where we're going.
Sure. Now, let's dive into you a little bit. I've seen some of your content online on X, Instagram, Reels, things like that. You're a very vocal guy. And also, it seems like you have a whole slew of topics you're willing to talk about online. Does that sort of personality bleed into your leadership style? I would imagine yes, but just wondering how the Nathan in the office is versus the
Yeah.
Nathan online.
So like the truth is not this scary thing, right? The truth is
Mhm.
not scary. It's like what we do with it is, but the truth itself is not. And so I have my beliefs on things. So like you'll notice I have these very strong opinions, but what I never do is like attack people themselves, or like I'm always attacking a belief or a structure on something. I just think
Yeah.
that like the truth isn't this bad thing. It's actually this thing that helps us become perfect. And so like
Right.
that's kind of like our whole thing at Perfect is that like we refuse to settle for good enough. We refuse that like when it's 1 in the morning and we all want to go to bed and we see that the favicon is slightly blurry or doesn't look good on a certain type of browser or whatever the case is, like, it doesn't load on Firefox. We're like, okay,
Mhm.
let's just debug it. Like just always push for the 1 ounce more. And so there's one piece of that. The other piece, I have my end goal in life is to run for president. So like everything I do is around self-funding a $1 billion presidential run.
Okay.
And I might run for governor of Tennessee in 9 years. And so like all these things I do are around like, well, I don't plan to be like I plan to be a politician within the next decade. So part of that is like I'm building a brand and I have these opinions and I share them because like, well, eventually that will be my job.
I can see that. And that's, I mean, to your point, having an opinion is not wrong. Like you're allowed to have a certain stance on things. And also if it does improve the team's quality and or the product's quality or the website's quality in your sense, like why not? Like
Yeah, and people
let's get it done.
disagreeing with me is like not something that offends me. I think this is like the
Right.
big thing. Like,
I think that's the most
um,
important thing, honestly, is to be able to take it back too.
I
And, in a remote or virtual environment, sometimes I guess it is more, would you say, I should ask, is it more difficult to like manage, I guess, how people respond to certain
it's so
topics
much
or
better. Yeah, because you can just leave. You could be like, oh, there's Nathan and his strong opinions. I'm going back to my office.
That is true. You can't
Because
just
the thing is
occupy
like
my
at a
office.
real office, I just would just stand there at the door arguing,
Right.
and so like now I get the alert that I have to be on a Zoom call and I'm like, okay, here we go. So I think I actually think it's like way better virtually. And it's nice that we work in a company that is truly diverse because diversity is like, somehow it got distilled down to this thing of like color. It's like diversity is like upbringings, backgrounds, thoughts, beliefs, all the things. And that's what makes it fun. I think it's great that everybody has a different story and different opinions, and I love to explore those.
Yeah. Now let's talk about you mentioned, meetings and you have to jump over to a Zoom or something like that. Anything in terms of like meetings that hits your calendar and you're like, I don't need to do this meeting. Like as a CEO, are there some meetings for you that should never exist?
Yeah, most of them, all of them. According to Tony Robbins, all of them. Or Alex Ramosi. No, I mean, yes, there were so many. I always sent people like my 30-minute block and everybody but 30 minutes for our 7-minute meeting. And I'm quick, so it ended in 7 minutes. And I'm like, okay, now I just hang, I guess I'll go get some water or something, like so again, just like another great thing about Rome is that like if it's on my calendar, it happens. And I make all of our demos kind of short. Like I give a 15-minute demo of our product, and my average call is 8 minutes, and sometimes it goes like a minute or two over, but it's pretty locked in. And then like 30-minute meetings are just great with connecting with people and getting something
Sure.
done. And so now team meetings, nobody puts like I don't do team meetings now. If I'm in my office, then come meet with me. And then if we need to review a design or like whatever, like occasionally people will still set things on my calendar. But in general, I don't do internal meetings anymore because when I'm available, you can just drop in my office.
Last question here before we sign off. If somebody were to join the perfect team tomorrow, what would surprise them most about how you operate? And I kind of have an answer in my head based off of this conversation alone, but I would love to hear from you.
This would be a better question for a head of ops to answer. I think when they realize that I deeply care about our customers, I deeply care, and that's part of the reason I'm a terrible leader because I get instantly upset. Like when there's a problem, like I'll break a monitor, smash a laptop, like I'm just angry that we made a mistake. And so I just deeply care about like everything we do is completely transparent. Like we're the only people that have a dashboard can live track every task down to the minute and it's had per task. So like we're the only people in the industry that offer like one-to-one transparency of all work that's happening across your portfolio of websites. And all of that is tied is like one, we want to be the greatest ever, and we believe complete transparency is a part of that. And two, that we really want to serve them at the highest level. So everything we do is around like what would be the most ideal situation for this. And so I think that's what surprises people is that like everything we do is like truly at its deepest is about like how do we serve people in a way that makes brings them to tears when they think about how they interact with our company. And we take that just incredibly seriously. And that is why we can sign 100 customers in a year and lose two. Like we have metrics that other agencies think are impossible. And it's just
Mhm.
because we truly obsess over taking care of people.
Well, in the spirit of short meetings, we will call it there. Thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for joining us. For everybody else listening, stay tuned for more conversations with founders, CEOs, leaders just like Nathan, who are making remote work. Thanks for joining us, Nathan. Take care.